Welcome, everyone. We're doing another episode of Indie Reads Aloud. This is season 5. I'm your host, Diana Catherine Penn, and today I'm so excited. I love it when my friends come on the program because then I get to really do great things to help promote their work. Today, my dear friend Craig Matthews is on the program with his book. Hi, Craig.
Hey, how are you?
Fantastic. I'm so glad you could make it today.
Oh, I'm really glad to be on. We've tried to do this for a long time and it's never worked out, but here we are. So
Here
yay.
we are. Yeah. And I know you have more books, so you'll be back to read more
Yes.
for us as
Yes.
well. Today you're going to be reading from Introverted, which is book 2 of the What the Eye Beholds series, correct?
Yeah, it's called Inverted, and it is the second book in the series, and it's like 25 years after what happens in book one. So a lot of
Okay,
things have changed, but yeah.
awesome. Okay, just to forewarn all of my listeners today, this episode does have a listener advisory for violence and mature situations and maybe some language. So if you have little ears listening nearby, you may want to preview this episode before you let the little ones listen, just to be safe. So, Craig, tell me about your writing journey. What was the inciting incident that made you become an author?
Well, very first, it was I have grandkids, 7 of them now, and I wanted them to know my grandparents' story. So that's why I did the research. And once I started doing the research, it was like, this could be a book, and a lot of people would benefit. So that's Immigrant Patriot. That was my very first book. It's historical fiction, and I wrote it for those reasons. But I've always been stirred by story. So English was my worst class in high school. Didn't like it,
Wow.
but I
Okay.
love the stories. So, so editors love me, not really, but they get over it.
Great
Um,
story, parts of speech, not so much.
yes, not so much. So that I feel like I'm still learning, and I wish I would have paid more attention in high school, but whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so stories have always been a thing that I love to share, and so once I wrote that first book, it was like, well, I could do this again. So I started writing spiritual thrillers. So it's been this ongoing quest of mine just to be able to share these crazy stories that keep popping up. Somebody, a good friend of mine, just the other day said, "You have the craziest imagination I've ever seen." So
Take that as a compliment.
I do very much so. Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, so when you say spiritual thrillers, how do you best categorize, how do you best describe that genre? Because I
Yeah.
know
So
there's a lot of different interpretations, so I'm curious to know what yours is.
oh yeah, well, I appreciate the chance to answer. And so I kind of coined the term because um, in my worldview, the physical world's going on, but there's spiritual things happening at the same time. So when I write, I reveal both of those things simultaneously often and give people like a bird's eye view on maybe a dimension of life that they don't really consider a lot. And so I want them to see, well, there are unseen forces doing things, both good and bad that we may not be aware of all that much, but they do influence how we choose to live sometimes. And so that's the tension that I wanted to bring into these stories is that, oh wow, there's like a whole nother reality that is very appropriate to talk about, I think. So
So would you categorize these books as stories of the occult, or are they more Christian based?
yeah, no, these definitely come from a Christian worldview, and so but a lot of the times, it includes angels and they're personified, or there's forces of dark and they may be personified as well. So it just gives like a deeper perspective to life that maybe we haven't considered all that much. That there's other stuff going on than just humans on this world. So it's kind
Sure.
of where I'm come from. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, and I've read some of your work, and I love the way that you balance those two things,
So,
humanity and spirituality. I love the way that you do that, and I think other authors and
uh,
readers will enjoy it as well.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate
Good,
that.
good stuff. Yeah, and I love your characters. They're multifaceted characters. They have a lot of stuff going on with them. It's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can attribute that to I've had lots of different kind of jobs in my life. So I've
Mm,
met lots of people. So I think that's been like a deposit into my creativity bank, over the years. So
sure.
there's a deep well there that I get to draw from. So I love that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Okay, tell us about Inverted. What is this story?
Okay. Inverted is on its face, it's a story of some kids who rise to leadership in an underground resistance movement, and the pressure cracks them, and they run. And one of the main characters that I'm going to start off with, his name is Cars, and he runs away to Mars. So this is in the 2040s, and there's a Martian colony going on, and he takes off in 2035. There's a great migration, and he does it because he thinks he's going to get away from all his problems. And so it's the idea, and then that plays out over multiple years on Mars, and these longings start coming back to get home. And
So, spiritual thriller sci-fi?
yes, and I've always wanted to write a sci-fi
Nice.
because I was a sci-fi nerd in high school and beyond even. So, the Gene Roddenberry's and Ben Bova's of the world.
Yeah,
I always loved reading those guys' stuff. So this is actually my first little dip of my toe into the sci-fi world because part of the story happens on Mars and then part of it happens back on Earth as well. So,
that's fantastic. And you mentioning Ben Bova, I discovered him when I was 13 and I
oh, I love Ben Bova.
thought I hit the jackpot. It was
Yeah,
great.
no doubt. Yeah,
All right. I'm excited to hear you read some of this. It's a brand new book, just came out recently. So this is kind of like a fun debut thing, which I love doing. Um, so this book is Inverted.
inverted. Yep,
And when you are ready, please, Craig Matthews, take the microphone and read aloud.
awesome. Chapter 1, Soul 7618. He stood camouflaged in the crowd, buried in the everyday sameness, while white knuckling the righteous judge in his left hand. These capitalist slaves need an awakening, he thought, one corner of his mouth raised in a smirk, knowing his 3 pounds of plastic explosives would launch a glorious new day of enlightenment. He believed his act of bravery and those of his brothers would introduce enough chaos all over the planet that the city-state democracies ran by oligarchs and corporations would crumble as people demanded order. In his periphery, he noticed a guy in a uniform, separated from everyone else. He tried not to turn his head and stare, but he could not stop himself. A bead of sweat formed on his forehead and rolled down behind his dark sunglasses. Pulling his hat down, he tried to melt back into the gathering. As Cars watched dust dance across the top of his boots, the ache returned to his gut. He did not notice the guy. No, he did not notice the eyes boring into him from the man with the sunglasses in the middle of the group of people behind him to his right. Cars waited for the sun and the train to arrive when the longing inside his heart showed up instead, blinding him to everything else. This was his favorite time of the day, when the world paused to catch its breath before the sun broke over the distant horizon. Today's peaceful moment triggered a longing for the same emotions he had when fishing back home. Hundreds of mornings he had watched the sunrise while casting his line, the zipping reel, the plop of the lure, and a cool breeze on his face. Buried deep in his heart, he longed for that abandoned home and the people he had left behind. Now, all he had was this dust, driven by a distant wind, and a sudden desire to feel again. Tears found their way to the corners of his eyes, and he did not look to see if any of the strangers waiting with him were aware. Most of those people were busy nursing steamy cups of one form of mud or another, while checking messages or mindlessly searching their comm units for the latest social media rumors. A few folks in cars anticipated the colorful show in the sky. Still, no one noticed that his loneliness had boiled over. not even the sadistic guy in the sunglasses. An inch thick plate glass wall separated them. Cars touched the side of his helmet, and his face shield, sunscreen, changed to a shiny gold. Then his surging emotions forced his head to look up and find the bright blue star. When he located it, his hand naturally stretched toward the place where he had left a large piece of his heart. At this time of year, Earth was brighter than all the stars except Jupiter. It felt closer to him than the end of his gloved hand, and simultaneously further than the 38 million miles that lay across the solar system. 38 million miles is as close as the two planets got to each other, but to Cars D, it felt like an impossible divide. A sudden thump against his back caused him to stumble forward. "What up, D?" came with the shove. "What's your problem?" Cars' anger peaked. "Your suit not working?" "That's why we're waiting for the train outside, you idiot." "Sorry, I didn't know your PA was out. I thought it was just your comms." "No, my prox has been in and out too." "Sorry, man, I would have done something a lot more fun if I'd known." "Where's Ben's?" Cars asked, not amused. No one answered. He banged the side of his helmet, and a crackling and fuzzy voice came through. "Can't hear you, Cars." Two more guys shuffled up in the dust to wait for the train. Ben's along with the kid Haggis. Benz waved his arms, but Cars could not receive his transmissions. Cars lifted his arms in frustration, and Benz gave him a sympathetic thumbs up. Colors began radiating on the eastern horizon as thin clouds refracted the arriving sunlight. The particles in the atmosphere gave off an orange glow as shafts shot up through the suspended dust. The sky directly above their heads was still black as night, which made the scene out in front of them more brilliant as distant mountaintops glowed with the arrival of the new day. None of the four men in spacesuits noticed the approaching train, barreling into the station until the ground shook beneath their feet. The steel rails squawked, and braking wheels shot tiny sparks in opposition to the mass in motion. All the men with the lift logos on their backpack naturally took a cryptic step away from the tracks. Inside the terminal, the waiting passengers pushed toward the airlock and paused for it to work through its cycle. Once the train stopped, it went into its static discharge protocol to remove the built up dust on its surface. This was accomplished by electrically charging the particles and then reversing the charge on the skin of the train. In so doing, the dust statically is neutralized and simply falls to the ground. The station's retractable airlock shoots jets of air on the approach to the side of the train and then magnetically seals itself to the car. The AI checks the seal and then fills the airlock with atmosphere. The doors inside the terminal unlock, and another group of passengers climb aboard in their shirt sleeves. This was just another day in the life of all the 53 passengers boarding the early express train in Freeport, except for the guy holding the oversized gray specimen case. This train was headed north to Eland and scheduled to arrive 90 minutes after departure. The four spacesuited figures outside the terminal had walked toward the middle of the train and its manual airlock. The men would have to cycle through independently, which took about a minute for each man to accomplish. The passengers knew they'd be waiting for the lift employees to get aboard before the train departed. All four men moved forward when they entered the train. The lift employee car had enough room for the men to remove their suits if they wanted, plus storage lockers for their equipment. They removed their helmet latches and twisted the unit to release it from its bracket. The air in the car had a distinct iron smell, and the men scrunched their noses in an involuntary response. "Phew," Ben said. "This place needs cleaning." "You got to get that fixed," the Latino kid, known as Foot, said to Cars. He pointed at Cars' helmet and pushed his boss with a snarky joke. "You think?" Cars said. Haggis, the last guy onto the train, struggled to remove his helmet, and Cars stepped over to help him. "Your latch isn't all the way open, Haggis." "Dang, rookie," Benz laughed while working to free his own gloves. Muffled speech emanated from beneath Haggis's helmet as Cars gently tapped on the latch and worked it open. Removing stuck helmets can be dangerous, as many has lost their lives because initially the suit controls were all inside of the helmet. After those deaths, Lyft added forearm controls for the life support functions. Still, even those are not always enough. If the dust causes the helmet release to stick while it is sideways on your head, you cannot see the controls. You have to operate the life support buttons blind. Then there have been many who have died with a stuck helmet and no way to dislodge it. They simply ran out of O2 without a buddy to help. The current protocol is to completely cycle the airlock before removing your helmet. Seems simple enough, but people are not always wise. Good thing you had a buddy to help you, Haggis, Ben said, pushing the kid's piss me off button once again. Relax, almost got it, Cars said to Haggis. You're going to need to vacuum this track out. Come on, Foot said. I'm not waiting for you to get into the breakfast line. Haggis and Foot had only been on the Dust Bowl for a my. Rookies had to have hand-holding veterans with them on the job at all times. Only after surviving 3 MIs is anyone considered enough of a veteran to work on their own projects. Yet one vet can have up to 6 rookies on their team at any one time. Cars thought that having 2 rookies was more than enough ignorance gathered in one place. Haggis, a Scottish immigrant, came out of his suit, cursing the dust and Ben's. Hey, listen, you made the dumb mistake by not cleaning out your helmet latch after you wore it the last time. I'm not going to your funeral for a stupid rookie mistake. Take care of your equipment. You don't understand how many guys have died for dumb shit like this. Stop it. Do your job or I'm bouncing you. Ben's turned away. Haggis's anger turned silent. You guys go get some food. We're going to work on my comms, Cars said. Don't forget your PA. Foot flashed his toothy grin. Yeah. Are we going to need to replace the comm unit? Benz asked Cars, sitting down across from him, trying to release anger over the stupid Scottish coworker. Cars sat on the bench at the utility table, still in his Evo suit, with a helmet in front of him while removing and inspecting his gloves. I want to, but this will be the 3rd one this year. It's got to be the dust, Ben says. The bane of my existence. The reality of life on the bowl, Ben said. If I would have been warned about the dust ahead of time, I don't know if I would have rode the wagon. Cars was frustrated. I know you would have, Ben said. What are you talking about? I was coming, so you were coming along. Whatever, I signed up first. Only after I talked you into it. You were too afraid. Cars deadpanned. Shoot, fear's the whole reason we're on this rusted rock, Ben said, pushing his best friend's hand off the table. The 2 rookies exited the Lyft employee car and headed for breakfast. Lyft offers a hot food selection during the morning runs, which is free for employees and tastes decent. The food line had cleared when the pair entered the dining car. You should take them guys a peace offering, Foot said as the train lurched forward. Screw that, Haggis said. Well, if you don't, I will. The unwritten protocol for rookies required them to take food to superiors when the boss kept working before the rookies ate. Brown nosers. Brown's better than bounced, essay. They both understood that being bounced from Lyft meant getting fired, losing company housing, and possibly the prerogative for living in Freeport. The law required every Freeport citizen to have a job to breathe the recycled oxygen. No job meant you had to catch on in another city or out in the godforsaken mining camp. There are always jobs available in the mining camps because people got killed all the time. Mining was the most dangerous job in the universe and the last place any sane person on Mars wanted to be. Foot slid butt first back into the Lyft employee car with 2 plates heaped with steaming hot food, scrambled eggs, imitation bacon, and faux tato cubes with greens. His 2 fingers on his right hand held a carrier with 2 hot coffees, known as Martian mud. What? No 5 fingers of death? Benz mocked. Thank God, they were all out, Foot said. The 5 fingers of death were the name for an old Army MREs of beef franks and beans, which could be found in remote worksite emergency bins. One of them had given Foot a case of the runs for 3 days a couple of weeks back. Foot, you're all right for a dumb immigrant. We're all dumb immigrants on Mars, boss. Some are more Emma than others, if you catch my drift. Benz laughed. Thanks, kid, Cars said. Careful, the mud burned my mouth. Foot waved his hand in front of his open mouth, then left the car in a hurry to get breakfast. Martian mud is a poor excuse for coffee. Still, it is the only thing they have been able to grow on the planet with enough volume to support the population's desire for a coffee supplement. The genetically enhanced chicory root is harvested in all the big cities and roasted to look like coffee. Black tea leaves are added for caffeine. The black tea and chicory plants are thriving on Mars, and the grounds created are recycled. They're a healthy soil additive for the farms because they retain so much moisture. After stuffing breakfast into their pie holes, the two friends replaced Cars' comm unit and his proximity alarm radar sensor, which is also in the helmet. The exterior environmentally versatile operation suit, affectionately called an EVO, was a standard LIF employee dress for outside operations on the surface of Mars. Most corporate employees across the planet use some variation of the EVO, but the robust units require daily maintenance and frequent software upgrades to maintain their working status. Every lift employee leased a specific EVO to use and care for. When certain maintenance items had to be replaced before the engineering specs called for an upgrade, a prorated percentage was deducted from the employee's earnings. A third comm unit in one Martian year would cost Cars a steep 90% of the part's wholesale price. The final piece of the helmet repair for Cars was to tape the seams with 100-mile-an-hour tape to help keep the dust at bay. Fortunately, the off-white duct tape matched the skin of his helmet and was available without cost to all employees. After the necessary system diagnostic checks, the men found their two understudies sitting at a table in the train's dining car, 3 cars forward from the lift airlock. Both Cars and Benz are naturally quiet men, enjoying the silence contained within their Evo suits. Walking into the raucous atmosphere of the dining car made them want to return to the peaceful work car and wait for their arrival in Eland. Wait, these guys will know the answer, Foote said to the whole car while standing and pointing at his bosses. Almost everyone was in the middle of a debate, with lines drawn up for each side of the argument. I don't need to settle anything. Benz shook his head and waved his hands in surrender. Come on, boss, we need your help. We are lowly rookie immigrants to your fair world. Shut up, Foote. Why do you call Juan Foote, a young Asian woman sitting across from Foote? Asked Benz. Because he's good at soccer, and he insists that we call that sport football, which we know is not football because we, he pointed to Cars and himself, played football all through high school. American football, Cars revealed a quick, mocking smile. Yeah, real football, Benz high-fived Cars. This action triggered loud objections throughout the car. Were you guys any good? I played for 12 years, Cars said. That doesn't mean you were any good, she said. Our team went to the state championships our senior year, Ben said. And I know the guy who scored 3 touchdowns in the game, Cars said. Wait. This wasn't the argument we needed you guys to settle, Foote said. Okay, all right. What is the question? Benz asked. This guy over here is an earthie. Haggis pointed to a guy behind him. And he's staying in Shepherd. So let me guess, he works for Amazon? Right. Foote looked at the guy and asked him, do you? The black-haired man gave a thumbs up. He lives in Shepherd, rode the wagon up 6 weeks ago, and doesn't want to miss his mom's birthday. We know Earthies don't recognize the Betts calendar. The time converter's online. He can access that when he visits Freeport again. Ben started to turn away, hoping to short-circuit the argument that they had walked into. Right, he knows that, but he doesn't know how to explain it to her. Come on, old-timer, give him the inside scoop on what happened, someone yelled from the front of the dining car. Old-timer, I got your old-timer, Ben Cars said. Where are you from? You wouldn't know where it is. Try me. Calumet. Michigan? On the Keweenaw Peninsula? How did you know that? Let's just say I like maps. Wow, no one knows where Calumet is. Okay, Benz, give our Michigan brother the scoop, Cars said. Benz looked around sheepishly at the crowd and then cleared his throat. All right, children. The Betts calendar, lesson 1, Benz said. Benz was a quiet soul, but he enjoyed the spotlight every once in a while. An original Martian explorer on the first mission, while surviving the long Martian winter, had spent a few days locked in his cabin, along with, as the legend goes, a gallon of homemade moonshine. Laughter rolled across the car. During this time, Dr. Mookie Betts came up with a calendar from a Martian perspective, not one imposed on there we go. Sorry, not one imposed on Martians by the bureaucrats on Earth. The calendar was a big hit once discovered by the first settlers. I thought they were the first settlers, someone asked. No, John Betts was part of the team of original explorers from NASA and only stayed on a year on the planet. Why Mookie? Another guy asked. He loved the Dodgers, and their second baseman for a long time was a guy named Mookie Betts. So, of course, John Betts accepted the nickname. Back to the calendar, someone shouted. Okay, the Betts calendar is based on the first landing, which we know happened on the Earth date of 20 June 2027. Since that was 28 days before the Martian summer solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, Betts and his moonshine decided that the calendar should begin on the vernal equinox of the first landing on humans on the Martian surface, which was 139 days before their landing, or 139 sols into the new Martian years, which would hence and forever be called year one. It's why we celebrate the 5th of Navi as the arrival every Mai. What do you mean by Mai? You keep saying Mai, the Amazon worker asked. Martian year. Today is the 30th Nox Martian year 11. If you're a science geek, you may prefer sols, which means it's Sol 7618. Earth calendar is 28 April of 2048. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but what about the crazy names for the month? The Asian woman across from Foot asked. Months, on the other hand, were more difficult to determine since the moons of Mars are, according to Betts, fast and slippery. It was probably more the moonshine speaking during this part of his calculation. Turns out that alcohol at 0.38 gravity has a more powerful effect on the human brain. The passengers clapped in response to the reminder of why Martian bars were so popular. You're a pack of drunks. Anyway, Betts referred to stars, weather observations, even girlfriends to come up with the names of the month. Thankfully for many, he used some Latin words to make us Martians appear somewhat intelligent. A man in dark sunglasses and a cap in the front of the area got up and hurried out of the dining car. Cars noticed and watched him walk away into the next passenger car almost at a run. Then he lost him as he exited into the next car. Cars noticed an uneasy feeling rising in his gut. Betts declared there would be 20 months, and most would be about 34 sols in duration, except for the unlucky 13th month. Moonshine was definitely speaking more than the scientist here, because the 13th month is kept to 28 sols and is known as an explosion filled with soot. An explosion filled with soot ripped through the front of the dining car, sending a spray of blood and human parts mixed with former pieces of furniture into the cold Martian morning.
Thank you very much. That's a great reading. And that's chapter 1
Chapter 1.
from Inverted.
Inverted.
So we talked in the beginning about how you were excited to dip your toes into the science fiction realm. What did you find was the most fun once you were over your head in it?
I think the most fun for me was the ability to you can like all restraints are off. You can create anything almost with technology or with sudden hidden things discovered on it's like all bets are off, and you don't have to like conform to the things that you have to conform to in a novel based in Earth, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, sure. You get to make stuff up and play with it.
Exactly.
You don't have to validate any of it.
No, no, don't even really have to explain it too much other than here it is, and all of a sudden I can be transported to another place or whatever. Yeah.
What did you find was the most challenging part of writing this novel?
Um, I think it was like there's quite a few moving parts because simultaneous stuff is happening on Earth and Mars, but it's different. Each person recognizes it as different dates, but it's still the same time. So making that stuff mesh and appear and read like it's not overly bumpy or quirky or weird. So making that all work out together was probably the most challenging thing.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Okay, and now I have to ask,
sure.
unless it's a spoiler, what is the spiritual message that you hope readers will take away from this book? And if it's a spoiler, give me something on the fringes that's not going to
Yeah,
spoil it.
yeah, for sure. I think there's like this book compared to the first book, there's two new protagonists. One is Cars, and the other one is somebody known as Bry. And she and him have both run away seeking um, seeking like peace or fulfillment away from what they knew was their calling.
Okay.
And so they ran away from it. And um, how can I put this without they both have completely different paths that get them back to a place where they not really the same place that they started from, but same mindset that they started from. But they have so much to endure to get there that will bring them back. So I think the underlying enduring message is you haven't run too far for God to use your life.
Awesome. I love that. You said that very well.
Thank you.
Excellent. I have added this book to my TBR, and I hope everyone else will as well. Um, but when I see you out in the wilds this year, I will bring my copy so you can sign it.
Absolutely. I would love to do that for you.
Perfect. Please come back and read for us again, will you?
I will.
Awesome. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much.